Hello, welcome to this presentation. I'm Maurice Dimba, and today I'm going to show you how to create a portal frame with the curved rafters. Welcome once again to this presentation. If you take a look on the screen, you'll see a grid already created. At this time, I'll assume that anyone can create this if you've been following this channel for quite a long. And if you're new to this channel and you've bumped on this video for the first time on this channel, and I'll take this opportunity just to take you through on how to create this grid. I'll double click on the grid. Double clicking on the grid will show you, will show the properties, or all the measurements that were used to create the grid. Now on the grid properties here we have the coordinates, we have the line extensions and the labels and magnetism, which is not that important. The key are the coordinates, labels, and the line extensions. Line extensions are line extending from this end to this end. Now, on the y-axis, we have y-axis and z-axis right there. Now, on the z-axis, we have these dimensions from 0 to 6 meters to 7.5 to 9 meters. The 9 meters is the utmost height of our pitch. And on the y-axis, we take a look here. It's this. It's 2 meters, an interval of 2 meters from this end to this end. There are 9 columns with an interval of 2 meters. And the x-axis, we have x-axis here. You can see that it's parallel to the x-axis. We have all these dimensions here. On x-axis, starting from 0 with an interval of 6 meters, we have 10 columns. So making a full length of our structure to be 60 meters by 18 meters, and at utmost height of 9 meters from 0 level to the very top of the pitch, which is 9 meters. Now 6 meters is the height of the column. Now 7.5 is where our bend for the rafters will start and end at 9 meters. Now I'll go straight away and get started here. And remember, from z-axis, when you come to labels, we just transfer this, just highlight that, right click and copy, and paste them here and prefix these dimensions with a plus sign. Means that starting from 0 going up. And on y-axis, you can label all this. You can just label whichever number you want. I prefer the numerical naming 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 17, though the number of grid will be picked among these, and the excess will be left out. Same to this x-axis. Now line extensions, you can extend here, or you can leave it at default of 2 meters. And that's all about that. Now I'll just close this, and before I close that, remember, the moment you open Tekla Structures, you'll see a default of a grid. Just double click on that grid. No, just right click on the grid, then come to create view, come to along grid lines. The moment you click along the grid lines, I can't click this because I've already created my views. It might corrupt what I've done. Now just click along the grid lines. Once you've clicked, you will be prompted with these grid line views properties with all those views in this section. Now you will have that opportunity to pick the grids that will be representing the elevations that you will be working on. For my case, I picked grid A and B. Elevation A and elevation B, and the 3D, and grid line 1, which will be my another elevation. So I'll have 3 elevations here and isometric view. These 4 I'll be working on, or will be assisting me on working on my structure. Now, like in this case, I want to pick grid C or elevation C. I'll pick grid C and just click on that arrow to bring this on visible views right there. and you'll be able to see what's happening. This is now my, let me just drag this away from that. Now you'll be able to see that this is my grid C or elevation C. You can see that. Now you can work on this, or you can correct or model this on this elevation. Now since I've selected only 3 elevations that I intend to work on, now I'll take this C back. Just click that arrow and it will go back. There I'll just close everything. Then I'll switch to my elevations, where I'll be start placing my columns and placing my curved rafters, and I'll go on to the very last minute. Now I'll switch back to Windows. On Windows here, if you click that drop down arrow, you'll be able to access the elevations that you picked from the view list. Now here I have the 3 and the isometric view. Now on default, at the moment it is on isometric view by default, but I want to start working from elevation A. Then I'll proceed to elevation B. That is my approach on how to work on this. Now I'll go straight to grid A. Right there. The moment I click grid A, this is what I'll be able to see, this elevation. This is the utmost height of my roof pitch. This is where my curve, the bending curve of my rafter will start from. This is the 0, 0 level, and this is the very top level of my column. Now, without wasting time, I'll just go straight to steel right there and come to column right there. The moment you click on the column, you'll see your cursor changing to a plus with the red color or a purple, showing that it is active. And if you take a look on the bottom of the Tekla Structures software down here, you'll be able to see on the command line it's stating that pick the position. I'll just pick down here, pick right there. I'll right click and interrupt just to end that command. I've placed this column here. I'll just double click on this column to check the properties of this column, and if I intend to change the profile and the size of the column, I just once you double click this column, properties will come up, and under attributes tab you'll be able to change the size or the profile of the column. Just click on that. Once you've clicked on that, you'll be prompted with the column with the profile catalog, this one here, and from here you'll be able to change the size and the column profile. Now I'll minimize this and I'll go under 45 under universal beams. Under universal beams, just you can just click on that plus and it will extend and give you all variety of universal beams available under it. Now we have the biggest, we have 1016, and we want to use 4/6. We'll use this. Pick on it and just go right away and click apply and click OK. Do the same here. After doing that, accept the column properties here, do the same, modify, and come here and apply, and give it an OK, like that. Then click on this, right click, pick on copy, and pick on that point, and just bring it on this end, because the columns are of the same size. Now from here, I want to create my curved rafter. And remember, to create your curved rafter, you have to reorient the position of the XY axis. To create the curved beam, we have to change our XY axis. We'll come to view right here. We have to do it on XY axis. We'll come to work plane tool right there. Click on that drop down arrow and pick on work plane. Then just go straight away and pick any position where the XY axis will be. Just click anywhere. Right click and interrupt that. or if that is not facing properly, just click it right there, right click, and come to interrupt to disable that work plane tool command. Now we are going to place or to create our curved rafter for our structure. I'll come to steel after reorienting my XY axis. I'll come to beam right there under steel and pick curved beam. Click on curved beam and just zoom closer and pick a point at the edge or on the edge of this column. Then zoom out and point your second point, because I've picked my first point. You can check down here. I want my second point to be here. My second point to be right there. And my third point to be right in the middle here. I'll click right there. There we have my curved beam. But it is not in the right position, but that is very, very possible to readjust. Now from here, I'm slightly finalizing with the curving my rafter. Now I'll come to Windows and this, and I'll come to Windows and click this drop down arrow. I'll click on it, then I'll switch back to my isometric view. I want to reposition this to be in the right position. I'll come to view right there. I want to rotate this, though you can just press Ctrl R and pick the position and turn this around like this. Now I'm doing this just to position this properly, closer to the beam or against the beam, against the column. Just double click on this. Once you double click on this, these beam properties will come up and you'll be able to adjust all the properties to enable this sit properly with the column. Now under under attributes here, we'll skip that and come to position. Under position, we'll manipulate the position of this beam or this rafter with these 3 positions. Now we'll come to depth. We'll pick maybe middle and click OK. Now it is in the middle. It is sitting right in the middle, but not still in the right position. We'll come to on plane. We want this rafter to sit properly along the plane. We'll click on the plane position and come to left. Perfect, but not the right way it should be. We'll come to right, and right will be okay. I'll pick modify and apply that. Give it an OK, and we'll switch back to our elevation A or grid A. Now from here, I want to double click or mirror this, and prior to that, I'm not comfortable with the size of the rafter beam. I'll just double click on that and I'll be able to change this. Click on the profile right there to take you through to profile catalog, and we will be able to change that. We want to make it a bit smaller. We'll minimize that and come to 356 or 305 right here, and we'll pick the first one under 305 universal beams, and click apply and give it an OK. And once that has disappeared, come to beam properties and click modify, apply, and give it an OK. You see it has changed to the size we've picked. Now from here, we are going to create a haunch here. A haunch here will come to applications and components here on that radio button. Then just type haunch here, or AHU, or if you're familiar with the numerical names of these macros, just type 102. Now I'll pick this if haunch right there. Then pick main part to be our beam, and we want to connect it with this. Perfect. Now I'll zoom slightly closer and double click on this to adjust the haunch. I'll come to part right there. I'll come to parameters there. let me close this. I want to change the length of my haunch to be 1 meter, 1 meter, and I want this to be 400. You can give it an OK. And also, if you don't want this kind of haunch, the variety here, you have an option to, you have options here to pick from. If you want this, you can pick. If you want that, you can pick. You can also come on this end and pick. If you want the couplet, you can place the couplet here. But I'm comfortable with this, just for a demonstration. Now I've picked that and changed this to 1 meter and changed this to 400. I'll just go ahead and click modify. After clicking modify, go ahead and apply and give it an OK here. After doing that, the bolts, I think that's now very simple to do. After let me just double click and take you back where we were before. Now, after double clicking on this, you'll be prompt to do this Tekla structure if haunch properties here, and from this you'll be able to adjust all this to suit what you require. The vertical haunch, the design analysis, and all that. And I remember this is everything is within this channel, and this you can check one of the videos and you'll be able to get all the informations how these are applied or are adjusted. Today my focus was just on how to create a curved rafter. Now I'll close this. After closing that, I want now to mirror this on this to the other end. Just zoom it closer and pick on that. After picking on that, right click and come to special copy. I'll pick mirror here. After clicking on mirror, I'll use this midpoint as my mirror line. I'll pick on that and come all the way to the bottom here and click on that. You see the angle is -90 and the length here is 9. I'll just go ahead and click copy. I'll give it an OK and right click and exit from that command, mirror command. You see it has picked that that haunch connection. Now I want to create apex haunch here. I'll just come on the apex haunch here under haunch. I'll pick this and that. That has been created. I'll double click on this to change this haunch dimensions. I'll give this 400 and give that 400 and also give this 400. Perfect. You can change the haunch. You can change the haunch if you like, but leave it at the default. After doing that, just go ahead and click modify, apply, and accept. Now that is our haunch. Now for now, I'll just close this because it has no use for us at the moment. We have here the haunches have been placed, the apex and this if haunch have been created. Now we want to create the base plates here. I'll come to that spot. I'll remove this now and just press base plate, base, and by default you'll see the base plates have popped up, and I'll pick the first one, the second one, and just click on that and point at the bottom right there, and I'll have my base plate already created. I'll zoom out and in and go to the other end and pick on the column and point at the bottom as the position where I want to place my base plate. I'll close this. Now I'll switch back to my isometric view by picking view 1 3D. Now I want to clean up my model. I'll right click and click redraw. I'll right click again on empty screen and right click and come back to redraw. Redraw means you want to refresh your model. Let me rotate this from that position. Let me rotate this. If you check down here, we've created the base plate, and this end also we've created the base plate. Now the next step, you want to create the purlins. Now taking into account that we have a curved rafters, and placing the purlins will be slightly hectic, and I want to show you the trick on how we can place that. I want to select everything here. I want to select everything right there. After creating that, I'll press Ctrl View and deselect the grid. Now I'll right click and come to Special Copy. I'll pick Linear, and taking into account the position of our XY axis is pointing up, and the other one pointing on the wrong direction. Now the axis, the direction we are going to work with is the Z axis, because it's pointing on that direction, and this direction where I want to populate our columns and the rafters. Now I'll come to the axis here and just type the interval dimension, which is 6 meters, and we want only to copy 1 at the moment. I'll click copy. I'll go ahead and click OK, or give it an OK. I'll right click and interrupt to exit from that command. I'll click on empty screen to deselect the previously selected model or parts. I'll right click again. I want to refresh my model. I'll click on that. Now from here we want to create the purlins here. Once we create the purlins, then we will be able to populate the purlins plus the columns and rafters along the Z axis. How are we going to do it? I'm going to show you. I'll come to Windows here and come to grid A first, or elevation A, which is this one, and then I'll come back to elevation B, which is this. Now let's start with elevation A right there, and this is the reason why I divided all these dimensions into 2 meters, extending upward and intersecting with my rafters. This was just to help me point out or place the points on the locations that I intend to place my purlins at an interval of 2 meters here, like that. Now using these intervals of 2 meters, I want to transfer my points on those locations, on that spot and on this spot, on this spot and on that spot, and I will transfer those points to elevation B, and I'll be able to create purlins from that spot and the other end. Now let's get started here, and I'll go straight to edit. From that point, I'll pick points right there by clicking on that drop down arrow. I'll pick any position at any position point. I'll zoom this closer. I'll zoom that closer and click on that position. Right click and exit from that. I'll do the same thing here. I'll come to points and a point and pick any position and zoom close, and I want to place a point here. Zoom closer. I've placed my point right there. Right click and interrupt. I'll come back to this end. I'll pick position, any position right there, and zoom closer, and I want to place a point here. Zoom closer, make sure your point is sitting in the right position. Right click and interrupt to exit from that point command. Come back here and do just the same thing. Come here and do the same thing. Place your point right there. Perfect. We've done that. Now the next move, we are going to grid B. Grid B or elevation B. Pick on B. Now from B here, I'll come to points. Pick on points right there and come to at any position on that spot. Zoom closer, just zoom closer and place your point right there. Zoom out again or in, then accurately locate this position here, that position, then accurately come and locate this position here. Not accurate, actually come and locate that position right there. Let me click on that, right click, and we'll be able to delete that position. This will be our final placement. Pick on that and come here and place your point here. Just zoom closer and place your point right there. Right click and interrupt to exit from that command. Now from here I'll just go back to my windows and switch back to my isometric view. Once you've switched back, you'll be able to see the points you've placed. The next move, we want to turn this to a position that we will be able to work with it comfortably. Right click and interrupt that. We want to place other points, but we want to target the point, the bend starting point. From this position, we'll come to point right there. We'll come to position right there and pick at any position. That's wrong. I'll pick online, then pick where we start, where our bending starts. Our bending start from that spot right there, and make sure it's straight and end on that spot. Perfect. Now we'll come back to view. We want to reorient the position of our plane tool and click on that spot, right click and exit from our that command. Pick on that spot, right click, come to special copy, give it linear. Then from that we want to offset it along the x-axis, and the z-axis has to be 0 now. Now on our x-axis we want to offset this from this spot by 400 or 200. Let's try first of all 400 and click that. Apply and accept. Apply and accept. Still closer. Again we'll come here, click on that, come special copy, linear, and just click copy. That's okay. Click that, right click, and we can now delete this. Just press Ctrl and pick on that, right click and delete. Now we want to copy this to the other end of our elevation. I'll pick on this like that from that spot and zoom out and target this end. I'll place this one here. I'll place it right there, right click and exit from that. Now I'll have my point here. This point will guide me in placing my purlins. Now let's go straight away and start placing our purlins. Right away I'll come to steel. Under steel I'll come to beam, pick beam right there, and I want to start placing my beam from that spot to this spot. It is curved. It's still picking a curved as a default. Double click on that, then come to position, change this to 0, then come to modify, apply and accept. And prior to accepting that, come to attributes, and we want to change this to the actual purlin, not a beam. Now from this catalog we'll be able to select a purlin here, minimize that, and we'll go straight to Z purlins, We can just go down closer. We can go to Steel Sections Limited. We can pick Z sections, pick purlins here, and you can go ahead and pick the SSL EZ214. Come here and apply and give it an OK. Come here and modify. After modifying this, the position up, I've realized the position of our purlin is not appropriate. What I'll do is just apply and accept and give it an OK. Then come here and delete this and do it afresh. I'll come to steel beam right here. Just zoom closer. Just click on that spot, come all the way and place this one here, right there. Right click, double click on that and start start positioning your purlin. Click on position and come to rotate under position, then give it back. Click again, give it try below. Then from there you'll be able to change that to behind. Not really working, give it front, apply and accept, but still is slightly off the intended point. Double click again and try to bring it back to its required position. Pick this and pick middle. Perfect. Then apply and accept. Now this is our purlin. Now we'll go to the next point and do exactly the same thing. Pick that, pick beam, then come to that spot, pick on that spot and zoom out and come all the way to this spot and place your purlin right there, and make sure it is landing properly against the rafter beam. If you take a look, is not really in the right position. What we'll do, just click on that and right click and come to delete, and to make it sit properly on the rafter beam, come to view, then come to work plane tool, pick on work plane tool right there and just place your z-axis right there. Now we go back to steel, come to steel beam and pick beam right there, and we'll start our placement from this spot because we want our purlins to be placed in appropriate way, that when we start placing our cleats it won't be awkwardly positioned, or it won't be really bad in placement of our cleats. Now I'll pick on that position, right click and interrupt. Come to view right there and come to navigate. I'll rotate this with mouse and rotate about that spot. You see it landing properly on the rafter. There's no gap. Perfect. We will do the same thing to the next spot. Right click and come to steel and pick beam right there and start from this spot. And please note that we are working with the plane, work plane tool here. Make sure your purlin lands or sits well against or on top of the rafter. I'll come to steel right there. I'll come to beam, pick beam. Then I'll start my points from this position and come all the way to this end here. I'll place it right there. Perfect. I'll come to my workplane tool and place my workplane tool there. Right click and exit that workplane tool command and come to steel and pick steel beam and start my placement from this end, from that end, and run all the way to this end and place my purlin right there. Right click and interrupt, and let's do the last one. Remember to shift your work plane tool, pick on that and come and place it here right click and come back to steel beam, pick on steel beam right there and start replacement from this end. Pick it from that spot and run all the way to this end. Place it here perfectly well. From here we can just switch back to our isometric view, or prior to doing that we want to place our cleats. We'll come right there and click on that, right click and come to just type purlins. Just type purlins. On purlins we'll be able to pick on the cleats. Pick on that cleat, then pick on this, click on that and press the middle button right there, and let's see if the cleat will appear. A cleat has appeared. Let's do the same thing here. Click on that and press your middle button mouse. Pick on that and press your middle button right there. Do the same thing here. Press the middle button on the mouse. Do the same thing here. Press the middle button. Do the same thing here, all the way to the very last one. And do the same thing here. Press the middle button on the mouse. Come all the way here and just do this exactly the same thing. And remember, this is a demonstration. After watching this video, you'll be able to do this perfectly. Click on this. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do, and I'll now close this and I'll switch back to my elevations. I'll switch to my elevation A. I'll right click, I'll click on empty screen and right click and come to redraw to refresh everything. Now what I'm going to do, I want to mirror all this. I'll pick on that, press Ctrl and I'll pick on this. I'll press Ctrl and pick on this. While pressing Ctrl, just select all this. Just make sure you select all this. Now from here, prior to invoking mirror command, make sure you change your work plane tool. Come to view, come to work plane tool right here and pick that and place your work plane tool right there, right click and exit that work plane tool command. Then right click, come to spatial copy, then move to mirror. I want to place our mirror. They want to use this midpoint as our mirror line. Click on that spot, run all the way to this bottom end and click on that. Then come to copy, click copy. Click expand and come to OK to accept the result. Right click and interrupt. We've mirrored everything this end. And if you switch back to isometric view, you'll be able to see that this is exactly what we've done. Click on an empty screen. Now we want to populate this. Just click on this and that and that. Right click and come to spatial copy, click linear. And please take into account that we have how many columns? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have 2 already here. Now at an interval of 6 meters, we want to populate this to the other end. Now we'll come to z-axis. After changing this to 0, we'll come to z-axis and feed 6 meters here and feed 8 columns right there. Please take note that Note down the number of columns here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. 11 minus 2 of these have 9. We'll place 8 there. Click that. It's supposed to be 9. Just give it an OK. Now we'll do the same thing. We'll highlight that and come all the way here and press Ctrl, pick that and pick this. We'll right click and just do this, just do the same thing. Click linear and change this now to 1. We'll just need 1. Click that and click OK. Right click, click on empty screen to deselect the previous selection, or right click and come to redraw just to refresh everything. Now we want to populate these purlins along the z-axis. We'll select that, select that, select that, select that, select that, select that, that one, and the very last one, that. Now we'll right click again and come to spatial copy right there and click linear. Now we want to populate this, and please note the gap. We have how many gaps here? We have how many intervals of 6 meters? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. How many do we want here? We want 9 because we have already placed 1. Now still working with the z-axis, we want 9 of this. And we'll go ahead. We've placed our purlins and just go ahead and click OK. Now right click and give it and click interrupt just to exit from that command. If you zoom closer, you'll be able to see how the purlins have been placed. Right click, click on the empty screen, right click and redraw. We want to turn this round. Perfect. Now double click on empty screen, under view properties, come to projections and pick on perspective just to have a good view of this model. Click apply and accept that. Now turn this, come to navigate and rotate this. Turn this round and you'll be able to see how our curved rafter has been created. Perfect. Just zoom this, you'll be able to see that. With our cleats placed. Perfectly well done. And from here we'll wind up and let's meet on the next presentation. And thanks a lot for watching this video. I'm your presenter Maurice Dimba, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel.